civil engineer, doctor in air quality. He is currently a professor of the University of Engineering of Madrid, also professor for the North American University till recently. Yesterday, I asked the Madrid Subterra project manager, please update Julio's CV. In any case, he's also a scientist invited in the Harvard School. Since you're going to make this presentation simultaneously, I give you the mic, the handheld mic, Maria Garcia. Maria Garcia is a climate director in Spain, and before her current position, she was the Secretary of State for the Environment in the Agriculture, Farming and Livestock Ministry. So let's see if technology helps us. Let's see if Maria can talk to the pedestal mic, and then we change the slides. We change the slides. Yes, you do, if possible. So it seems possible. So what we're gonna do is you can ask our editing director to move to the next slide. So should I stand there or here so that the people can see us? I think the people that using the cameras, they're covering everything. The people that are watching you via Zoom are going to be able to see you. Okay, good morning, or good afternoon, rather. I just wanted to start by thanking Madrid Subterra for their invitation to this event and also to the engineering school for hosting this event. Julio and I are going to be talking about Madrid deep demonstration of as Madrid as a demonstrating city of urban transition towards decarbonization. This program was an innovation program that was created in 2019 as a result of an alliance between the university and my company. And in addition to the Madrid City Hall and the private sector, most specifically Ferrovial. In Madrid Deep Demo is an unusual collaboration platform that is more than just an innovation platform, because it is considered a public-private social collaboration platform that generates an area of trust, and that through the portfolio approach generates a number of initiatives that allow the city to be transformed, a transformation that has been committed by a government before the year 2030. Just to give a snapshot of how we're going to approach this presentation, we're going to start talking about the context of this initiative, so the Madrid Deep Demo, which entails talking about systemic innovation, about the climate kit, because the organizational model of climate kit is at the very heart of the demo. Then we're going to talk about the European context, and then we'll talk about some of the missions. Then we'll talk about deep demo more specifically, how it has been organized, how the demo is organized as a work framework, and how the portfolio was designed and developed, a portfolio in which we've been working for some time, and that nowadays is developing a number of very specific cases that we're going to share with you. I'm going to start then with, in this next slide, about the background of systemic transformation. It's kind of like some background information of what the strategy is, which is at the very heart of this initiative. Climate Kit is the most important initiative that has been undertaken by Europe in terms of climate innovation. It was created in the year 2009 with the clear idea of allowing society to move towards a neutral climate situation through innovation. The strategy that supports or that develops Climate Kit and on which Deep Demo of Madrid is supported It's called Transformation in Time. That was launched in the year 2019, same year in which Deep Demo was rolled out, and is intended to foster a systemic approach, not incremental, but rather transformational, to ensure that we can undertake the challenges of climate change with the urgency and level that we believe is necessary, and also in line with the commitments that have been reached by the Spanish government. Climate change is something that is systemic, is complex, and needs a comprehensive, adequate answer. That's why this approach of changing from incremental innovation, which it has its place and time, but for a project of this type, we need something that is much more transformational, in which we create portfolios that are interconnected with the idea of finding leverage or levers that can foster transformation at the level that we want. Climate Kit is an agency that works in over 40 years, 40 countries worldwide, coordinates innovation that is taking place amongst about 400 organizations. And since it was created in the year 2009, attracting capital, working on training programs, etc. If there's something that characterizes us as an organization, which is part of our DNA, is this need to change from incremental innovation to transformational innovation. Incremental innovation is insufficient for the dimensions of the challenges that are ahead of us. We need, and that's the foundation of Deep Demo, we need to transform the main systems that make us a society. One of them being cities, which is a system of cities. There are technologies to do that. We have ideas, we know more or less how to use them, but there's a gap. And the messy middle, which is a gap between the commitments that we have acquired at a European level, international level, or even personal level, with the actual implementation. And in that gap is where Climate Kit is based, where Deep Demonstration in Madrid operates, where this kind of project uh, works with the idea of promoting systemic innovation. And at the end of the day, Deep Demo, in addition to being a comprehensive project portfolio, is an or represents another way of thinking, another way of acting, another way of investing, another way of making decisions, another way of connecting solutions and combining the solutions to make sure that we can undertake the transformation that lies ahead of us. This systemic innovation approach is based on the portfolio approach, and it's also based on a methodology created to develop these experimental portfolios. These are the so-called deep demonstrations. Deep demonstrations were launched in the year 2019 in a number of areas, not only cities, as the ones you can see on the slide, 8 in total, with the same idea of developing action portfolios for different fields or areas so that we could develop a comprehensive approach, create an experimental and work environments, and being able to foster transformation. Climate Kit focused on cities, a team demonstration for healthy, clean cities in, involves 15 municipalities, including Madrid. It's one of the most ambitious that there are in Europe. With, and they are basically working on portfolios with the idea of transforming the, the, the city as a system. We will look on the Madrid demo later. There are things to do with mobility, energy, waste, construction, healthcare, culture, social aspects. That's what we were talking about. A systemic, comprehensive approach. The need to create an integrated work methods that interconnects each one of these pieces of the puzzle. All of this is rooted, this idea of systemic approach is absolutely aligned to the European missions. the European mission, which is innovative approach, which is based on the idea of trying to develop innovation portfolios in different areas with the aim of achieving objectives that cannot be attained individually with an incremental approach, and with the aim of having a positive impact on society, on the political sphere, so that the right decisions can be made to benefit most of the population. That is the approach of the European mission, including this one, that will be further elaborated on by Julio. Cities that should be neutron, carbon neutral. This approach, as I was saying, of the European mission is the approach of the demo of systemic innovation and the approach with which we work. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass the floor on to Julio now so that he can talk about his missions. Thank you, Maria. Thank you to the organizers. It is my pleasure to be here with you, working hand in hand and presenting this hand in hand. So Maria did a wonderful job of, what the framework of the project is. So now the European mission for cities is one of the missions that were passed by the European Commission recently, and the idea is to have 30 smart cities before the year 2030. Because if we all think of what it would entail to decarbonize a city in 9 years, we're talking about a significant challenge, because that would entail no more fossil fuels in the vehicles, in the buildings, and all the activities in the city. And we're talking about scope or reach 1, 2, and also indirect emissions resulting from power generation. This is very ambitious. We are aware of it. And the idea is to have at least 100 cities that commit and achieve this. So it goes back to the same thing that Maria was saying. This is something which requires an scalability significant that cannot be done using traditional models. And that's why what the mission says is not only to set this ambitious target, such as what they said, in the 60s when they said, let's go to the moon. Not only that target, but also it provides a number of tools that we can use to make that happen, presenting a set of initiatives intended to favor the achievement of this. On the one hand, having a political commitment of not only the government, but actually the city as a whole, a political consensus that can be attained and maintained in time, that would be officialized by signing some environmental contracts between that city and the EU. Also, a roadmap for the city, not only a contract on paper saying I commit to this or that, but also there is a number of steps that have to be followed, and steps that also identify the action levers that would need to be activated simultaneously so as to develop transforming projects, and also with new financing and funding models and new models of relationship with society. Because we think that's paramount. This can only be done through public money. It would be public and private money to transform cities. About 15% should be public. The rest, the remaining 85%, would be private. I mean, citizens. When we buy our car, improve our house, we live in the city. I mean, we're spending money in the city, and also, of course, the private investment. So it's innovative type of investment with new funding models and a new model of public participation, in which the citizen is not someone that just votes every 4 years or just participates on the particular budget, but also transforming agents themselves. And that's very difficult to do, but that's actually what the mission intends to do. And what we're trying to do is, from the university in collaboration with Climate Kit, to do this in Madrid at a local level, but taking into consideration that this is only going to work if we consider the local, regional, national and European framework. That's what we're working on, three different levels. So at a European level, I was in the board of the mission that just presented this proposal. We are developing the project for implementation of this mission, which is the net zero cities, which combines also Climate Kit as an organization, and also we're in that European scenario. Then, at a national level, we're working with 15 cities in the process to decarbonize and transform, not only decarbonize, but transforming as a whole to improve the city in terms of health, well-being, quality of air, employment, economic development, etc. Decarbonization is an excuse to transform the city. So we're working with these 15 cities. Madrid is one of them, but there's also Seville, Valencia, Barcelona, and Zaragoza, also Valladolid, Vitoria, Soria, Alicante, etc. That's at a national sphere, and at a local level, we're working with Madrid in the process to decarbonize the city, together with Climate Kit, but also with the city being at the very core of the process. This is not a response of the Climate Kit and the university to a request of Madrid for us to develop a particular analysis. This is actually a collaborative project in which, based on the Climate Kit methodology, the city is the challenge owner. Is with the challenge being transforming itself, decarbonizing. So all of us together, Climate Kit, the university, and the city hall, work together to decarbonize the city. And that is exactly what we're going to explain to you in a little bit more detail. And these are the cities with which we're working. But let me pass through this. So now let's focus on the local context, which is what we came here to present in the first place. Maria already said, I spoke about this, so I'm not going to go into it. I just wanted to say that Madrid is one of the 15 cities that are part of the demo. The rest of cities are all European cities. There are no more cities from Spain. We also work with other organizations that are called designing organizations that work in certain things like economic model, governance, funding, and those kind of subjects with a systemic approach. And we work as a team between Comic Kit, the City Hall, and the university, together with other stakeholders in the city. As Madrid said, we started in 2019, and the first year we spent in the development of the, the project portfolio. I think the most interesting thing about this systemic approach is that many of these things are already happening. If we look at the urban transformation, there are many activities already in Europe, and the problem is that they're not connected to one another, and that's what happens to us too. In the cities, we have hundreds of projects trying to do things uh, with the aim or with the purpose of improving the lifestyle of citizens. But the problem is that many of those projects are working in a silo. So here the challenge is to connect all those projects and to align them. And that's why the mission is so interesting, because the idea is to have all those projects working together in the same direction, the same way that it was done back in the 60s with going to the moon, where a whole bunch of companies work together with the same purpose. That's the idea that we have, working with the idea of decarbonizing Madrid, working in a different Madrid, in a Madrid that is the one that we want to develop for all of us. And to do that, the first thing that we do during the design phase was to identify the transformation.
Tiene dos vertientes. Una es qué sectores
And
son
there
los
are
más
two things here. What are the most important sectors so that we can change our city model? And also, what tools should be in our hands? I mean, what type of standards, what fiscal incentives, what technologies, what mode of governance?
primer año. Y a partir de ahí lo
So
que se
that's
ha
what
hecho
we did in the first stage. And once those factors were identified, once those transformation levers were identified, we started designing a portfolio of projects that are connected that have at an initial stage first projects that will attract many other projects in the city in order to align them with this transformation. That is the challenge. So if we are able to go from disconnected projects to connected and aligned projects, that's where you have an exponential leap and the real systemic transformation. So that's what we're working on. So our goal is climate neutrality. I have been part of the mission since the beginning. So, I mean, we're not stupid. We are really ambitious, which is not tantamount to being stupid. Everyone knows that a city as Madrid cannot be climate neutral by 2030. Some of the cities can, those with maybe until 200,000 inhabitants, but a large city such as Madrid cannot reach that by 2030. So we are aware that we will divide up our cities in districts, and those districts maybe will be decarbonized. So our commitment is not to reach neutrality by 2030, but we are part of this roadmap 360 in order to have climate neutrality by 2050. That's our actual commitment. But we have committed to a 65% reduction of GHG emissions by 2030. And European Commission is asking, as we said about the Fit for 55 project, we go not only for 55% reduction, but a 65% reduction. So this is the core of our proposal. The roadmap is the backbone of our transformation effort. Decarbonization is our guiding light. We have identified what change levers could be useful. For that, we have carried out an economic study. Here you have like the 14 industries or sectors or themes that will allow for this decarbonization. And but it was an economic study. Let me emphasize that, because if numbers don't add up, nothing will be done. So we have analyzed the costs, the investment for the decarbonization of the city, and we have confronted that with the benefits, and the benefits are huge. Money savings by the way of energy that is saved, and also indirect goals such as the improvement of the air quality with less hospital interventions. Also, the repurpose of some buildings is also a huge benefit.
Las viviendas se revalorizan un 50% en 5 años
Even
solo.
houses and buildings revalue. There is an upside potential in the revaluation of buildings. So all this has been identified through the transformation levers, and we have seen that benefits are superior, are larger compared to the inconvenience. Usually benefits are mid-term or long-term, and that's why we need new business models to achieve this, and new funding models too. What we need is to have a capital with that could have patience long-term, because there is a degree of certainty that the return will be huge. We could talk about any of these levers extensively, but those are the main details. And here I will give the floor to Maria again. Yeah, let's delve deeper into deep demo as an organizational model, as a working model, which is the main secret for success here. I've been part of governmental agencies for many years. I see that this is a really innovative working model. The approach is crystal clear. The roadmap of climate change um, of the city council is there. The whole program is at the service of the city council. The city council is at the core of the whole project. And then we have created a collaboration platform where it is true that everything becomes cross-cutting. Where does the city council start and where does climate kick ends? So this is surprising in a positive way for me. So it is worthwhile to devote some minutes to take a look at this model, even if we have already provided you with some details about it. These are the main elements in the organizational model of Deep Demo. We work, we have moved from working on projects, now we work on multi-actor contexts, that is platforms. We will have interconnected initiatives in order to have learn and transfer with different pilot projects, different initiatives that are interconnected, that allow to have like crossed learning that can be scalable too. Also looking for impacts, working with challenge owners and with citizens. So we have moved from incremental innovation to transformational innovation, from one-off solutions to the whole transformation of systems. So this is at the heart of our strategy in Deep Demo, and this shows the way for the whole organization, the whole strategy. There is a specific attention to detailed learning between different industries. So as Julio was saying, this is demand based. So again, let me insist, at the heart of this, at the heart of the whole approach, we have the city council. We have been able to connect many other initiatives which are not included in deep demo, but which are related maybe in terms of education, in terms of public services. So the platform right now is huge with a lot of ramifications. And let's not forget that at the heart of everything, we have the challenge owner, which is the city council, Madrid City Council. So around the city council, the whole program will be built upon. So Deep Demo is just an alliance at the service of Madrid City Council with the aim of accelerating the progress in terms of the roadmap 360. All the actors involved in the demo share the facilitation role in order to create this collaboration framework, in order to have a stable system. This is like a safe space, like a trust space that allows for the implementation of this multi-actor and multi-level approach. So challenge owner is at the center of the program, and around it we have the different functional areas. First of all, we have the experimenting function related to design, implementation of the portfolio, connecting the portfolio to the neutrality roadmap, monitoring the coherence and consistency. Then we also have the activation function, because let's not forget that deep demo is not a goal per se. It is a wonderful tool, but the goal is implementing deep cooperation so that we can design different interconnected initiatives so that cause, they generate an improvement for the city council. What we need to have is the specific tools, specific methodologies, specific language that we need in order to accelerate the key processes in the portfolio. And finally, we have the implementation function per se, the orchestration function, so to speak, trying to find a common direction for all the partners inside this so that we could have cooperative working methods. So by following that model, the whole deep demo is built up around the portfolio of experiments. Basically, we just work on different points of the city systems, trying to connect change levers here and there, linking them to an economic analysis of the decarbonization process, as Julio just said. So at the end of the day, this is about combining the design in Madrid portfolio, because I mean there are two types of initiatives. We have city council initiatives that were in place already before the start of the project, which have been redirected and re-guided with a new multi-actor, with a new multi-level approach, with new industry connections. So you see projects, existing projects which were really flagship projects of the city, with other ex novo projects that have been designed from scratch that require for some funds, for some fundraising and some work for it to be implemented, for them to be implemented. So once we gather all that, you see that after many years of work, we have like 20 initiatives that are part of the portfolio that could be distributed in 4 experimentation areas that are, of course, interconnected. That's what this is all about, right? So we have the regulatory sandbox, energetic rehabilitation, naturization and health, and sustainable mobility. All this is framed in a trust space, in a continuous learning, in an ongoing learning environment that led us here. So apart from these 4 experimentation areas where we have the 20 initiatives of the project, let me remind you that there is a connection between the initiatives of the project and many other efforts at a European level, maybe initiatives from other cities, other regions of the EU. This is something that Climate Kick allows for, so that we can have not only an interconnection between different areas of the portfolio, but also an interconnection between actuations and interventions right now in Madrid and interventions and solutions from other points in Europe. And now I'll give you the floor back, Julio. You have talked already about the design process of the portfolio. Climate Kick was there, the designers, Madrid City Council. This took from January to June 2020, and the outcome, the milestone where we're at right now, we have 20 projects, as I've been saying before. Some of them are really flagship projects of Madrid City Council. Okay, thank you, Maria. So very quickly, because we don't have much time, let me tell you that this is an overview. These are not just words. Eh, Words are okay, but this is a reality, specific projects that have been connected around those 4 experimentation areas. Here you have the whole panoplia, the whole um, array of projects connected to nature, the regulatory sandbox, sustainable mobility, and the rehabilitation of neighborhoods and different buildings, residential buildings. And there are also cross-cutting projects that have to do with different areas. Let me just go into detail for some of them. So basically, we have that uh, portfolio with different projects, and we have mapped all those projects around those 4 experimentation areas, taking into account the transformation levers, the innovation levers, entrepreneurship, education, etc. So let me give you very quick examples, and maybe we have time for Q&A. We can delve deeper into those. First of all, the regulatory sandbox. We have identified that in order to meet that decarbonization roadmap, one first obstacle we have is that some regulations avoid that we can make progress, maybe because we have obsolete regulations They can even be hurdles for doing things because some things are new, are totally innovative. So, right, I think it was yesterday where when we finished our 140-page document identifying the hurdles posed by all the city laws, the city regulations in Madrid. So we have made a proposal to the city council, which is in the stage of public consultation, so that we can change some regulations at a city level. That process took 1 year and a half. And the idea of this sandbox is that some regulatory changes are not applied to the whole city, but starting with a pilot initiative. For example, in Madrid Nuevo Norte will be the largest European urban development in the next years. So in that area, we would have a different regulation so that we can have that area being climate neutral right from the design, so that it can be an example that could be showcased at an international level. About nature and health, well, the Metropolitan Forest is the, the well-known initiative of the Madrid City Council. And with this approach of transforming the city, this has moved from being a project consisting of let's plant 1,000 trees, which was not bad in principle, but now it is a renaturalization. This is now a new tissue generation project where we will have a renovation of whole neighborhoods where those trees will not be just planted, but they will connect different neighborhoods. They will change the mobility, they will change the link between people. People will be able to walk in these areas, and children will be in the same space as our elders. So you see, metropolitan forest becomes a change lever for the whole city. Another project was Madrid compensates. Now we are in a 2.0 version where Madrid committed to compensate greenhouse gas emissions, but of private companies. But instead of doing it in Spain, Madrid would invest in nature-based solutions in some other parts of the world. The idea here was attracting public capital in order to transform the city. Concerning sustainable mobility, we learned a lot during the pandemic. Fortunately and unfortunately, we have seen what are the places where where pollution is higher, where the movement rate is higher. So we have identified companies and organizations in those hubs, and we have open participatory processes with those actors in order to identify different options so that people can get to work and get out of work at different moments in day and during the day, trying to find remote working with flexibility in the working hours in order to have a better pollution curve, a better curve for urban transportation. That would give us a better sustainable mobility, a more efficient use of public transportation, because the demand of users would be better distributed throughout the day. So this is an initiative which is called We Move, We Care. And these are the objectives here.
Otro es la rehabilitación de
Another
barrios
one is the renovation of neighborhoods in collaboration with Seville, where they've undertaken a comprehensive building refurbishment approach, a project. And we're learning from their experience and we're transferring that to Madrid so that we can restore a whole bunch of neighborhoods with the idea of not only using them as apartments, but also to renovating not only buildings, but also renovating entire neighborhoods with the idea of having close to what we call the 15-minute building the 15-minute city rather, in which means you will have all necessary services accessible within 15 minutes. And all of this, Maria was saying, is to be activated through a number of services. So it's not only a matter of implementing projects, but also a matter of training, because this entails working differently, not working in silos anymore, doing things differently. So there's a process to train and qualify individuals who are going to be members of this new system. There are communication initiatives, knowledge transfer initiatives, economic analysis, funding, etc. So all of this is complemented and integrated within the project portfolio, together with some initiatives related to activation. Some of them have been developed in a number of places. We've been working for a year in a startup accelerator, and then using a city such as Madrid, which can be a driving force for new ideas that address the type of models that we want, with that idea of climate neutrality. We are trying to develop or foster the development of startups that work on the new model. We're doing that together with Vienna through the Impact Hub of Vienna. And here you have some examples of startups that have already taken shape. And then we also have a number of other educational initiatives together with schools, with neighborhoods, with programs such as Young Innovators, other organizations such as Young Innovators, other European projects, as well as in the university through a project that was launched last year, which is City Studies, a city studio, with a focus on city issues in collaboration with the City Hall. This was done in Vancouver, and now in Vancouver, from their pilot project, they have moved to 200 projects that are developed together or jointly between the university and the City Hall, with the idea of addressing the increasing and new needs of society. And lastly, I would just like to say that you can collaborate on this. This is the organization told us to tell you about this, but we're doing many other things. The interesting thing about this is that there are many things that can be done, significant collaboration opportunities available. So any of you that are here in the room or in Zoom, you can tell us how you would like to collaborate. We're collaborating with Madrid Subterra to see how some of the subsoil uh, power usage initiatives are taking shape. And some private companies that are here, people from the university, any one of you can express your will to collaborate, and I'm sure we will find a room for you. So anyway, thank you very much for your attention, and we're here at your avail. Yeah, thank you very much. In line with what Julio just said, I wanted to mention two things. That the deep demo, um, with the work of a lot of people that have participated in it, but there's still much more to be done. And now we're entering a very important phase, attracting more information, more funding to further attract new initiatives, and, and connecting it with the European initiative. So, and something else that has already been mentioned behind this deep demo, behind the portfolio, behind the organizational model, behind this methodology, there's a new way to approach innovation, to invest, to think, to work based on a comprehensive approach and collaboration, deep collaboration, yeah, deep collaboration, stable collaboration that allows us all to create a safe environment where these projects can take shape. And of course, in an environment such as that, a, an environment of collaboration is an environment that wants new people that have the same approach. Because if we're saying that in 2030, 2040, and 2050 we want carbon neutrality, we all have to work on it. So thank you very much for your attention.